right before we got online, you had talked a little bit about what you were doing before as far as in the credit card industry and fraud prevention and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of these blockchains outside of Bitcoin that have get hacked, and there's always constant issues. What is your standpoint on other digital assets outside of Bitcoin?
I think we're digitizing planet Earth. And, my brother, well, he most certainly does not understand this world as well as I do. He's good old legacy real estate guy. And the way I explain it to Grant is, Grant, look, can you ever imagine you and I ever using an 8-track tape again? I mean, some of your audience is like, 8-track tape, what's that, right? Grant and I used to go to school when we were 17 years old, smoke a doobie at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and slam, Grand Funk Railroad into the 8-track tape and hear the, right?
Oh.
This is my point, okay? I know it's such a stupid visual, but even my brother cannot answer the question, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to 8-track tapes one day. And the point I'm trying to make is, like, I have 40,000 songs on this thing, videos, podcasts. Who ever thought we were gonna have compression technology that allowed us to do this? Yeah. This is as good a quality, except maybe for your lighting, as CNN, man. And like, I got a $6,000 camera here. That's it.
Yeah.
CNN paid $600,000 for their cameras, right? So technology is happening right now. And if you believe that, I think there's going to be a day, probably in the next decade, where I am not allowed to drive my analog car on the highway because I become the variable risk, right? If we go robotic and digital, you can't have crazy analog guy on the highway. So there's going to be a tipping point. We're just hitting this tipping point where analog, pencils, spreadsheets, they're just not big enough to handle all the data. Okay, here's a very good example. Most people know what a 1099 is, right? You get a tax report. Hey, I made $100,000 this year. This is how much I owe in taxes. There's 4 billion 1099s in the United States for old legacy assets, real estate, your income, distributions, all that stuff, right? In order to do digital, crypto, smart contracts, NFTs, DeFi, 8 more billion 1099s have to be created. 8 billion on top of the 4 billion. Now, somebody pays for all these 1099s, okay? You and me are paying for this. But imagine if you're an accounting firm and you're like, okay, there's $55 billion worth of taxes to grab from crypto, but it's going to cost $50 billion to go grab all the data. And the government's like, we didn't ask you guys to invest in crypto, dude. Just because crypto has very, very different, digital assets have different characteristics. One Bitcoin one day is going to equal many dozens of transactions. Right now, in order for me to acquire one Bitcoin, it's somewhere between 8 and 15 transactions. Unique, 15 different sellers, 15 different social security numbers,